community feedback on Lagos Television. My name is Kikelamo Oduebo. Welcome to the program. Report says over 3 million people currently suffer from drug-related illnesses in Lagos State, and the figure is increasing daily. This worry was expressed by the committee who are in charge of drug abuse and control in Lagos State, especially when they embarked on a sensitization walk for everyone to say no to drugs and yes to life. You want to find out details? Wait for me in a moment. Welcome back to the program. It's still community feedback on Lagos Television. Today we are focusing our attention on the activities of the Interministerial Drug Abuse Control Committee of Lagos State organized a recent walk to sensitize members of the Alausa community on the need to say no to drugs and yet to life. The theme of the year's event is addressing drug abuse challenges in health and humanitarian crisis. The UN usually marks this day on June 26. Let's join our correspondent, Bukola Bakari, for more details in this package.
No to drugs and yes to life. The Lagos State Intervention to Control of Drug Abuse and Control Committee says no to drugs and yes to life.
The Lagos State government has raised the alarm that over 3 million Lagosians are currently suffering from drug abuse-related illnesses. It has therefore admonished residents, especially the youth, to desist from using illicit drugs, but rather enjoy a healthy and productive lifestyle. At a sensitization walk to mark this year's International Day Against Drug Abuse and Illicit Trafficking, organized by the Lagos State Interministerial Drug Abuse Control Committee in collaboration with the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA. The message was clear: say no to drugs, yes to life. The walk was to further create awareness on the major problems that illicit drugs represent to the society. The theme of the United Nations Day Against Drug Abuse and Illicit Trafficking this year is addressing drug challenges in health and humanitarian crisis. By Resolution 42, subsection 112 of 7 December 1987, the UN General Assembly decided to observe 26 June as the International Day Against Drug Abuse and Illicit Trafficking as an expression of its determination to strengthen action and cooperation to achieve the goal of an international society free of drug abuse. In his remarks, the Permanent Secretary of the State's Ministry of Health, Dr. Olusegun Ogboye, represented by Director Medical Administration, Training and Program, Mrs. Fumi Shokumbi, reiterated that the consumption of hard drugs affects the total well-being of individuals. Hence, residents should embrace life and avoid drugs.
Today is an international day. It's a day celebrated all over the world. And what that means is that drug abuse is of international public health concern, that every one of us has a role to play. What we are doing is creating awareness for people to say no to drug abuse, for people to know that drug abuse can affect virtually every organ in the body, including the mental state of any individual. We want people to take over their health, to take control of their health and be able to say no to drug abuse. And if anyone can kill for one day, then the person can kill forever.
Also speaking, the Director of Pharmaceutical Services in the State's Ministry of Health, Mrs. Oyebisi Omolambe, said drug abuse is a public health concern, as they are sold everywhere, with minors also having access to them, and invariably lead to addiction, which is often hard to quit.
When you say health and humanitarian crisis, when you talk of health crisis like the COVID pandemic, during the COVID period, people were frustrated, people were hungry, people were anxious, people were bored, So most people thought using drugs would be a coping mechanism, but drugs is always a negative coping mechanism. So what we are saying is even in terms of health challenges, you don't need to use drugs. Drugs is going to be a negative coping. There's nothing you can achieve from using drugs. It can never solve the problems. It cannot solve the challenges. The humanitarian crisis, we talk of war, protests, and whatever. When you have cases like that, you have each intake of drugs, all in the name of what do I do to cope. But the message there is, drug is never a coping mechanism. Rather, it is a negative coping mechanism. It will only keep you high for some few days, few months, and your challenges are there again. And if you are not careful, it leads to addiction. And what is addiction? This addiction has to come with compulsory seeking and use. They go all anyhow to make sure they get the drugs. It's a chronic brain disease that makes you to seek for drugs. Whatever it's going to take. You see people selling their properties, selling their cars, selling their house, just to make sure they have their need drugs. So it's a chronic disease.
Similarly, Director Nursing Services in the State Ministry of Health, Mrs. Dorcas Shonibare, noted that the year 2022 theme presents the realities across the world, as some people resort to using hard drugs to satisfy their curiosity in the belief that it would relieve them from stress as they face several challenges of life. Shonibare added that using hard drugs is never a solution, rather it complicates matters and cuts one's life short.
We are collaborating with the pharmacy department to say that people should drop use of hard drugs and choose life. Drugs will only destroy you further, so that you can also build your personal immunity against diseases. Do not use drugs that is not prescribed to you. The Lord will continue to help us. Say no to drugs and say yes to life.
The Permanent Secretary in the State Ministry of Information and Strategy, Mr. Olushino Thorpe, represented by Director, Public Affairs, Mr. Olumide Shogunle, said there are several ongoing collaborations with the Ministry of Health to raise awareness on dangers of drug abuse through motorized campaigns, jingles, sponsored programs, and enlightenment activities in different parts of the state, including motor parks, schools, youth centers, and markets.
Okay, well, the ministry has been a partner with the Lagos State Ministry of Health through production of jingles, documentaries, on radio, sponsored programs. We have motorized campaigns for the day, and we do feature stories to highlight the negative effects of drug abuse and things like that.
The sensitization work by members of the Lagos State Interministerial Committee on Drug Abuse and Illicit Trafficking, which started at the Secretariat, Alausa Ikeja, also availed participants the opportunity to keep fit as they moved around the Secretariat, ending the work at the Folarin Koka Staff Clinic within the Secretariat. The Lagos State Interministerial Drug Abuse Control Committee, which was set up in 1993, has members drawn from the Ministries of Health, Information and Strategy, Transportation, Women Affairs and Poverty Alleviation, WAPA, Education, Youth and Social Development. The Ministry of Health is the committee's secretariat, and members meet quarterly to review and map out new strategies to tackle the menace of drug abuse in Lagos State. Let us all say, no to drugs, yes to life.
Coming up next on the program is our Vox Pop segment, where our crew members spoke with some members of the Lagos State Interministerial Drug Abuse Control committee members. And the committee was set up in 1993 to raise statewide awareness on drug abuse and control in Lagos State. The committee has members from the Ministry of Health, Information, Education, Women Affairs and Poverty Alleviation, Youth and Social Development, and of course, Transportation. and from the national level and the LEA. Take a listen at what they have to say about this year's celebration of the UN Drug Abuse Day and illicit trafficking.
One, they should have task force that whereby go around the society, go around a lot of places. You go to clubs now. There are some clubs that where your jurisdiction cannot enter there. In the clubs whereby they take lots of harmful things, they take drugs and all that, and they sell them. Actually, this thing has been sold. You get them easily. You don't. It's not these drugs we're talking about. It's nothing that you find hard to get. You can easily get them. But by codeine, pharmacies, the chemists and all that, they sell them. Meanwhile, it is for the good, but the youths, they abuse them. So you can't stop drug like what I just said now. Like tramadol, it has the works it does. There's the good function it does, but people actually misuse them.
If you can kill kids for a day, you can do it for life. Hard drug affects the total well-being of any person. So say no to hard drug and say yes to life.
Àwa láti sọ fún yín wípé lílo ògùn olóró kò dáa. A sọ fún wa wípé ògùn olóró ó ṣe àkóbá fún ara.
From our package today, we have learned that the use of cocaine, codeine, heroin, cigarettes, and of course, alcohol are dangerous to our health. Hence the need to say no to drug abuse and yes to life. And if you have any drug abuse related illnesses, please try to look for help, and help is available all around you, especially in Lagos State government facilities. That's our package today. Thank you for watching it. Stay safe and see you next time.
This is Lagos, you know we love it. This is Lagos, you know we like it. This is Lagos, you know we love it. This is Lagos, you know we love it. This is Lagos, you know we like it. This is Lagos, you know we love it.